Hey to the literally tens of viewers that are out there watching this, it's JT from Keystone Crew Outdoors, giving you my Rapala Fantasy Fishing and Mercury Drain the Lake picks for the Bassmaster Elite Series for the St. Johns River in Palatka, Florida on February 10th through the 13th, 2022. I'm going to start off with my picks from the heart. Here's what I want to happen. I may even throw out my research and go with these picks. I want to welcome back to Bucket A, Mike Iaconelli. Welcome back to the Elites. I hope we get to see you do some breakdancing on your boat. He's currently owned in 5% of the buckets out there. Bucket B, I'm going with Jacob Peraznick. Current owned percentage is 16%. And Bucket C, I have to go with the hometown hero, Johnathan Kelley. He's from Old Forge, Pennsylvania, here in northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm from Carbondale, Pennsylvania, and us northeastern Pennsylvanians kind of look out for one another, and I really hope to see him do well out there. Bucket D, I have Mark Menendez, 16.5% owned. And in Bucket E, I'm going with Justin Atkins, 23.5% owned. Once again, this is all what I want to happen. No research. This was my gut instinct as soon as the buckets were released, and that's what I went with mine. Now, I am going to go on to some research, though, here. Here's my research-based picks. I've read the articles from multiple pundits, ranked, summarized their picks, so you won't have to do that. You won't have to go online and have to read about this. So here it goes. St. Johns River can play to everyone's strengths. Sometimes it's won by elite sight fishermen, sometimes it's won by moving baits, sometimes it's won in the grass, sometimes it's won on the flats, sometimes in the canals and docks, all different types of ways. So techniques and the way they're caught may change, but the only thing that remains constant is there are going to be some monster fish caught in this tournament. There's no reason that this tournament shouldn't be a slugfest between all the elite anglers. The whole field has fished the St. Johns River before, some of them multiple times. The rookies are probably the only ones who maybe didn't have experience here, but even some of the rookies have fished there in non-elite tournaments. All right, so my first research pick here in Bucket A, I have him as my top-ranked angler in Bucket A, is Greg Hackney. He started out on a tear last season with 3 top 15 finishes. He was leading the Angler of the Year for a little while. I'm going with technique and history with this pick. Hackney does it all. Flipping frogs, cranks, spinners, and sight fishing. He's a threat to win at every stop on the Elite Series. In 5 events at the St. John's, his average finish is around 8th place, including 2 seconds, an 8th, a 13th, and a 16th. I think it's time for him to have a win here. He's highly owned, though. So if that's not your game, he's got 28.3% own percentage. So if your strategy is to follow the pack, go with Hack. You may want to pick someone else, though, if it's not quite your strategy. If you do pick him, though, you're probably going to be rewarded with the top 10 finish. Brandon Lester I have is my second-ranked pick for Bucket A. I think he's a pretty safe pick. Talking about history, he's been here pretty consistent since 2016 with 3 top 15 finishes and a 35th finish on the St. Johns River. His current own percentage is 0.9%. If Hackney stumbles and you gambled and went with Lester, you may have a good jump start on everybody else who picked Hackney. I have a couple other solid picks here. Patrick Walters, he's currently owned by 12.8% of the field in three elite tournaments here at the St. John's. He's finished 4th twice and a 10th. He's also finished in the top 20 for Angler of the Year 3 times with his 16th, 4th, and 3rd place in those rankings. Another angler worth looking at is Brandon Palnick. He's currently owned at 7.4%. He's fished in the teens here in 2020, 2021, in that season opener. If it comes down to topwater flipping, he may be a nice pick to start your fantasy season. Another angler to look at is Wes Logan. He could be a steal with this current own percentage of 0.7%. He could start the 2022 season out strong. In 2 trips on the St. Johns River, he's finished 32nd and 15th. On to bucket B, I have Drew Benton. He's my top-ranked angler in bucket B. His current own percentage is 11.5%. When you're talking about the field that's geographically spread out, all these anglers are from all over the place. Don't overlook the local guys. Drew Benton's from Georgia, so he's practically neighbors there with Florida. Talking history, he's finished 27th, 25th, and 21st in his last 3 elite events on the St. John's, and 4th in 2016. So he's got some history there. He qualified for and will be fishing in his 5th Classic in March. His consistency on the St. John's could make him a reliable pick for this bucket, especially if you picked a lower-owned percentage guy in bucket A. John Cruz is another person to look at. He's my second-ranked angler in this bucket. Currently owned by 14.8%. He's got a pair of top 10s here in the past. He's solid when it comes to topwater flipping, cranking, and sight fishing. As I said earlier, this river can play well with several techniques, so Cruz may be a decent pick. He's a guy who's really making moves. He's jumped from 69th place in Angler a Year in 2020 to 21 in 2021. So look for him to make some moves this season. Other solid picks, as I said earlier, my gut pick when I first saw this was Jacob Peraznick's. His current own percentage is 16%. He's back wearing the blue shield, and after his hiatus from the elites, I expect him to come in and really want to have a good showing. He won 2 events during his rookie season and is one of the better shallow grass anglers and sight fishermen on the tour. So if that's in play, he could be a solid pick. Another guy to look at is Steve Kennedy. He's a boomer bust angler, though, when it comes to fantasy. Very high risk, high reward. Currently owned by 5.3%. Josh Strassner's in this group as well. He won Rookie of the Year last year and has an own percentage of 0.5%, so he might also be a good pick. Bucket C, I have my top-ranked angler as Brian New. I picked him here last year based on some buzz when researching last year, and he won in his debut elite tournament here in 2021. Set me on the right path. He won by nearly 10 pounds last year, too. He won by flipping lipless cranks, flipping vegetation. History says these techniques could be in play. I don't know. In Florida conditions, the weather can change easily, sometimes multiple times throughout the day. This happens to be a 4-day event. New's pretty good when changing techniques with the conditions change. He's currently owned at 16.6%. But he did win here last year, set me on the right path. So I had pretty good rankings because of his win here for the first 3 events, I would say. My second pick out of here would be Scott Martin. He's owned in 19%, and he's pretty good in Florida. The pressure of switching jersey logos last year should be gone in his second year in the elites here. He barely qualified for the Classic, but he did qualify. So you never know. He might be a good pick for you here. Other solid picks that I have in this bucket is Stetson Blaylock. He's another angler, squeaked into the 2022 Classic. His finishes at the St. John's are all over the place, though. 33rd, 9th, 52nd. The 9th place finish may make you think about it in bucket C, though. He's currently owned by 4.7%. John Cox. He has been less than stellar here at the St. John's, but he's very experienced on the fishery. A lot of people feel that Cox can make some noise here in the opener, and he's got a high owned percentage of 30.6%. I'm spending a lot of time here in Bucket C, but I have to talk about a pair of rookies here. Johnathan Kelley's a rookie. But he's clearly a great angler. A nice article on Bassmaster's website about him today. He's qualified for the elites at the age of 25. He squeaked by my favorite angler, Mike Iaconelli, and won the 2021 Northern Opens Angler of the Year. He was my initial pick here in Bucket C. I know, like I said earlier, it's a bit of a homer suggestion because he's from northeastern Pennsylvania, and I'm from northeast PA. and we look out for one another, support one another. He's currently owned in 0.3% of the people out there. Good luck, Johnathan. We'll be cheering for you here in northeastern Pennsylvania. Another rookie to look at is Cody Huff. He grew up watching Rick Clunn. For those of you who don't know, Rick Clunn was the first back-to-back venue winner in 2016 and 2019 in Elite history, and he did it here at the St. Johns River. Maybe Huff can follow in Clunn's footsteps and places in the top 10. Who knows? He's currently owned by 0.6% of the people playing. Brings us to Bucket D. Bucket D, I'm going to just be pretty quick here on Bucket D. Cliff Prince is in here. Cliff Prince is my top pick from Bucket D. Just like last year, he's somehow in Bucket D again for this event, despite probably being the favorite to win it here at the St. John's every time they stop here. He lives in Palatka, so he's very familiar with the St. John's River. It's the equivalent of home field advantage in a major sport. It's kind of like the LA Rams playing the Super Bowl in LA this year. In 7 Bass events on the St. John's, he's finished in the single digits in nearly half of them. In his last 4 appearances here, he got a 7th, 4th, 17th, and 6th. But keep in mind, his worst finish was a 56th. He's heavily owned, though, with 44.6% owned. So if you don't want to gamble, maybe you want to choose someone else. I don't see how you could pick anyone but him here. But another solid pick is my second-ranked angler, and it's who my gut pick was when it first came out before I realized, hey, Cliff Prince is in this bucket. So another solid Bucket D, Mark Menendez. He almost won here in 2019. He finished 3rd. If flipping and throwing spinnerbaits are in play, he could be a good bet. Last year he finished 5th here on the St. John's. If you're not on the Cliff Prince train, you could be confident with Menendez at a current own percentage of 16.5%. Bucket E. Bucket E is the toughest bucket to pick. Not because of the talent levels, but because you just never know who can come out of this. It's a very stud-to-dud bucket. You've had guys like Rick Clunn, who I mentioned earlier, with back-to-back wins in 16 and 19. I picked him here last year based on history and was rewarded with a solid 99th place when Clunn finished last. You have guys like Paul Mueller, who won the 2020, won here in 2020, but he hasn't finished above 60 since. My top-ranked angler that I have here, and like I said, Bucket E is kind of always just a dart throw, roll of the dice. I have Maddie Wong. He's similar to Brian New last year. Wong had some buzz around him, having won the Bass Nation Championship. He has some tidal river experience in the California Delta, and he might not be a bad dart throw. If you're looking to take a rookie, he's only 2.1% owned. Jason Williamson's been all over the place. I have him as my second pick here. He's had really strong finishes and really, not so great finishes on the St. John's. The crapshoot that is Bucket E, his experience may pay off, though. Low percentage guy at 1.2%. I have some other solid picks here. So I have got Clint Davis. He's improved each time and was 20th last year. He's currently owned by 4.6 of the people out there playing. I apologize in advance when I butcher this guy's name. I'm going to try, though. Jay Shakarat. He's a rookie that might be poised for a big year, but he did struggle in the Opens in Florida last year. He's also owned by 1.2%. As I mentioned before, Rick Clunn, he's got 2 wins here, but the 99th place finish from last year just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm not really sure that I trust Clunn here. We'll probably win the darn thing now because I just said that. He's got a pretty high owned percentage here in Bucket E with 15.3% owned. Bernie Schultz is another guy you might want to look at. He's owned by 11% of the people out there playing. He has just as much, if not more, experience on the St. John's than Cliff Prince. So if you follow that, and it seems like a lot of people are, 11%'s a decent amount owned in here. And he could also be a solid pick. Like I said, Bucket E to me is always the toughest one to pick. For a tie-breaking weight, I'm going with 78 pounds, 8 ounces for this one. I pulled all the weights from 2012 to 2021 when they stopped here at the St. John's. I know it's a lot of work. When you average the winners, you got something like 79 pounds even. If you go by the top 3 finishes in each one of those, you're right around 74 pounds, 8 ounces. Keep in mind, there was an outlier in 2020. I believe there was bad weather that hindered it, and the winning weight was like, I think, 44 pounds, 7 ounces. So maybe brought this down. I expect it to be a decent, I'd say a decent weight to win this. High 70s, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went into the 90s. So I've got from 2012 to 2021 winning weights from 44 pounds 7 ounces all the way to 96 pounds 6 ounces. I'm going to play it safe and kind of go in the middle, and I'm going with 78 pounds 8 ounces for my tiebreaker. So just a quick review here. Here's my initial picks, my heart picks. Bucket A, Mike Iaconelli, 5% owned. Bucket B, Jacob Peraznick, 16% owned. Bucket C, Johnathan Kelley, 0.3% owned. And Bucket D, Mark Menendez, 16.5% owned. Bucket E, I had Justin Atkins at 23.5% owned. I still may go with these. These were my initial picks. If I don't go with these and they come in, I'll be kicking myself. My actual research-based picks, though. These are the ones that I think you should probably go with. Bucket A, Greg Hackney, 28.3% owned. Bucket B, Drew Benton, 11.5% owned. Bucket C, Brian New, 16.6% owned. Bucket D, Cliff Prince, 44.6%. Everybody's on him. And Bucket E, Maddie Wong at the 2.1% owned. Mercury Drain the Lake. It's the other fantasy fishing game here. I have my picks for that, but some of you may not be familiar with Drain the Lake. Some of you laughed at me when I said I was going to start a fantasy fishing group on here too, so I'm going to just explain real quick what it is. Drain the Lake's an elimination or survival style game where you can only use an angler once all season. We have 10 events and only 94 anglers. So you'll need to use 80 of the 94 anglers, plus a few Bassmaster Classic anglers throughout the season, so you have to choose wisely. Here's my picks for the St. John's Elite Drain the Lake roster here, brought to you by Mercury. I have Drew Benton, Drew Cook, Cliff Prince, Brian New, Bryan Schmitt, Mark Menendez, John Cruz, and Jake Whitaker. I'll post the link to our group below, but if you're looking to join our group, go to the groups there on our fantasy fishing page and search Keystone Crew. We'll see you later.